The war had already begun. Bombs, orders, death. And in the middle of World War II, I was assigned to watch one man. Too closely. The bunker reeked of damp concrete, oil, and the lingering smell of gunpowder. Generators hummed low, vibrating through the floors and walls, mingling with distant thuds of artillery beyond the perimeter. Maps sprawled across wooden tables, some pinned, some rolled, each line inked with routes and enemy positions. An Enigma machine sat quietly in the corner, keys worn from hours of encrypting messages. I adjusted my gloves. The leather was stiff, biting against my skin. Every movement deliberate, every breath measured. I could feel him before I saw him, Colonel Matthias. He stood rigid by the central map, arms crossed, jaw tight. Piercing blue eyes scanned every dispatch, every notation. I swallowed. The air between us crackled. Orders repeated themselves in my mind. Control him. Never reveal your thoughts.
Reports from the front lines?
Encrypted messages decrypted, sir. HQ is aware of enemy positions. Units are in position for the next engagement. All under control. I risked a glance at him. The colonel didn't look at me, not fully. Yet his presence pressed against me, magnetic, commanding. Forbidden. Dangerous. Consuming.
Soldiers moved through the bunker like shadows. The flicker of dim lamps cast long silhouettes along the concrete walls. Every sound was amplified. The drip of water from the ceiling, the shuffle of boots, the hum of machinery. I traced my fingers over a dispatch on the table, feeling the cold ink under my touch. My pulse quickened as he bent slightly to examine the same papers. Our hands brushed, fleeting, electric, unspoken. I tore my eyes away, maintain control, never reveal.
Ensure the eastern perimeter is secure. Enemy activity detected overnight. I want updates every hour. No exceptions.
Yes, sir. I filed the orders, fingers brushing the leather-bound maps. Every movement deliberate. Every glance measured. A single misstep, a single flicker of emotion, could compromise everything. And yet, I couldn't stop noticing him. The way his jaw clenched. The sharpness of his eyes. The subtle tilt of his head. Danger. Authority. Desire.
Hours passed, dispatches filed, messages encrypted. Outside, distant artillery shook the earth, a reminder of the war beyond these walls. Inside, we moved carefully, every gesture observed, every word weighed. I memorized every detail of him, the curve of his brow, the sharp line of his nose. Even in the dim light, I noticed the faint scars at his temple, hints of past battles. I wanted to reach out, to touch, but orders, control, conceal, held me back.
Double-check the southern barricade. Reports indicate movement we didn't anticipate. I want every soldier accounted for. Any negligence, and the consequences are mine and yours.
I moved to relay the orders, heart pounding. Each step echoed in the bunker. Then the alarm blared, enemy movement detected near the eastern perimeter. He turned toward me, eyes flashing in the dim light. I swallowed. The mission, the war, our secret, everything collided at once. And I knew, in that instant, that nothing would ever be the same.
Dawn broke over the bombed-out village, smoke curling from chimneys long extinguished. Trenches cut across the fields like scars, water pooling in craters from yesterday's bombardment. I adjusted the straps of my satchel, feeling the cold metal of the cipher device against my hip. Colonel Matthias moved ahead, boots crunching on broken cobblestones. Every step measured, every glance alert. The air was thick with tension, damp with fog and the faint stench of cordite. My heartbeat echoed, louder than any artillery beyond the ridge.
Eyes forward. We move quietly. Enemy scouts reported along the western lane. No missteps. Understood?
Understood, sir. I followed close behind, tracing every step, aware of his presence like a live wire beside me. My fingers itched to reach for the radio, to intercept, to act, but protocol and secrecy held me in check. He bent slightly to study a map, shadow falling across my face. For a fleeting moment, our eyes met. Forbidden. Dangerous. Electric.
Through the binoculars, I spotted movement, figures in tattered uniforms, crouched and moving carefully. My hand tightened around the strap of my bag, the cold metal of my pistol pressing against my side. Colonel Matthias knelt beside me, scanning the horizon, his eyes narrowing. The brush of his sleeve against mine sent a shiver up my spine, a reminder of how close, yet forbidden we were. Every sound mattered. A drip of water, a snapping branch, the distant rumble of artillery. Time slowed, every heartbeat a countdown.
Prepare the ambush. Move with precision. Do not alert them. We strike in 3. Positions now.
I signaled the squad, the quiet click of the cipher device echoing in the mist. Boots sank into mud as we moved. Colonel Matthias paused, scanning, calculating. Every muscle taut. Our hands brushed again as we adjusted the map and radio. A glance, no words. Forbidden acknowledgement.
Shadows shifted. The enemy scouts were closer than expected. My pulse jumped. I readied my pistol, knuckles white on the grip. Colonel Matthias signaled silently. We crouched, invisible in the mist, waiting for the perfect moment. The tension was suffocating, and through it all, the forbidden spark between us burned silently, unnoticed by all but us.
Wait for my signal. Any premature action will compromise the entire operation.
I barely breathed as the first shot rang out. Mud splattered. Smoke curled from broken windows. Colonel Matthias moved like a phantom, precise, lethal. I followed, heart hammering, not just from fear, but from being this close, this forbidden, to him. And then, a scream. The enemy had spotted us. Everything we planned, everything we tried to protect, hung by a thread. I realized in that instant, survival, duty, and desire would collide with devastating consequences.
Smoke thickened as we advanced through the ruins, twisted metal and shattered walls closing in around us. The distant thud of artillery pressed against the earth, a constant reminder that the war was everywhere. Colonel Matthias moved ahead, every motion deliberate, eyes scanning for threats. I stayed close, aware of every inch of his presence, shoulder, arm, the faint curve of his jaw. Our proximity was dangerous, forbidden, yet impossible to ignore.
East quadrant secured. Prepare for the final sweep. Enemy reinforcements expected. Stay alert.
Yes, sir. I adjusted my radio, intercepting signals, every movement precise. A subtle touch, the brush of his hand on mine as he handed over a map, sent a jolt through me. Focus. Duty. Survival. And yet, desire lingered, dangerous and consuming.
We approached the plaza, where the enemy had entrenched snipers in the half-collapsed buildings. Debris crunched beneath our boots. The air was thick with smoke and the metallic scent of blood. Every step could trigger a bullet. Every glance could betray our position. Colonel Matthias paused, hand on my shoulder. Not a gesture of comfort, but of warning. My pulse raced. Forbidden proximity. Forbidden thoughts.
Positions. Suppress the northern flank. Wait for my command. One wrong move, and everything falls apart.
A shot rang out. I dove behind a fallen beam. Dust filled my lungs. His hand found mine, steady, grounding. We moved together, shadows in the smoke, each step measured, each breath shared. The line between duty and desire blurred.
Enemy movement intensified. Figures darted between ruins, rifles raised. The colonel signaled silently, a tilt of the head, an unspoken command. I followed, close enough to feel his breath at the back of my neck. Our forbidden connection a silent risk, threading between life and death.
Advance. Clear the left sector. Suppress fire until within range. Precision is everything. Do not engage prematurely.
We reached the edge of the plaza. Smoke and dust obscured the enemy. A single sniper took aim, my pulse froze. He grasped my arm, whispering just enough to hear, "Stay with me." The shot cracked. I felt the world tilt. In that instant, the mission, the war, and our forbidden bond collided. And I knew the next moment would change everything.
The plaza stretched before us, a jagged scar in the heart of the village, buildings half collapsed, their windows gaping like empty eyes. Smoke hung low, mingling with the morning fog, making every step a careful negotiation. I could hear the distant thrum of artillery, the sharp cracks of rifles, and the soft, tense whispers of my own breathing. Colonel Matthias moved ahead, precise and controlled, scanning every shadow, every outline, calculating threats. I followed closely, each step echoing on broken cobblestones, every muscle taut, every sense alert. The weight of the cipher device at my side reminded me of my duty, the orders I carried, the lives depending on our success. And yet, despite the war, despite the danger, I was aware of him. Every detail, every subtle shift in his posture, the line of his jaw, the shadow of stubble on his cheek, the way his eyes narrowed as he surveyed the terrain. Forbidden thoughts intruded. Thoughts that should have been impossible amidst the chaos, yet they burned with an intensity one could not ignore.
Advance carefully. Keep the formation tight. Every angle covered. The enemy will exploit the slightest hesitation. Eyes forward. Trust only those you can see.
I signaled to the squad, fingers trembling slightly, betraying the tension I fought to control. The colonel's hand brushed mine as he adjusted the map, a fleeting contact that sent a jolt through me. Focus, I reminded myself. Duty first. Survival second. Desire, forbidden, dangerous desire, a shadow lurking at the edge of every thought. Our eyes met briefly, a silent acknowledgement of something we could never speak aloud, a tension both electric and perilous. We moved as one through the rubble, shadows within shadows, aware of every sniper's perch, every line of fire, every possible trap. The enemy's presence was a palpable weight, pressing from the north, the east, the ruins above us. Every footfall mattered. Every breath counted.
Suddenly, a sharp crack tore through the air. I dropped instinctively behind a fallen beam, mud and dust spraying as the bullet hit near my head. Colonel Matthias was beside me in an instant, moving with lethal precision, his body shielding mine. My pulse raced, not from fear alone, but from the forbidden proximity, the electric awareness of his nearness in a world where every second could be the last. We advanced again, crouched low, using every shadow, every ruin as cover. The smell of smoke, cordite, and wet earth filled my senses. Voices shouted in German, commands sharp and urgent, echoing through the debris-strewn streets. I adjusted my radio, listening for enemy movements, signaling the squad, my hands steady despite the chaos. And through it all, Colonel Matthias's presence was a constant anchor, dangerous and forbidden, drawing me closer than I should ever allow.
Suppress the sniper. East flank is exposed. Move silently. One misstep and the enemy will know our position.
I peeked over the edge of a wall, rifle ready, scanning the roofline. The sniper's glint caught my eye. I held my breath, heart hammering, aware of every inch of his aim, every twitch of his finger on the trigger. Colonel Matthias leaned in, whispering a single word, precaution, before moving to flank the enemy. His proximity sent a shiver down my spine. Every nerve alight with danger and something more, something forbidden. I followed, silent, precise, each step a negotiation between duty and desire.
Gunfire erupted. Bullets tore through the air, ricocheting off walls and debris. Smoke thickened, blinding, choking. We moved as phantoms through the chaos, suppressing fire, neutralizing threats, clearing the plaza step by step. I felt his hand brush mine as we ducked behind a toppled wall, a fleeting contact that ignited a storm of forbidden feelings. Each movement demanded precision, trust, and silence. The line between life and death, duty and desire, blurred with every heartbeat.
Clear the northern sector. Watch your corners. Suppress fire only when necessary. Protect your squad. Protect the mission.
We reached the plaza's center. Bodies of the fallen, friend and enemy alike, littered the ground. Smoke and dust choked the air. I looked to Colonel Matthias, and in that instant, the forbidden tension between us became unbearable. He glanced at me, eyes softening for a fraction of a second amidst the chaos, a silent promise. I wanted to speak, to reach out, to break protocol, but the war would not allow it. Then a shout, a new threat, tore us from that moment. We moved together, fighting side by side, the world reduced to instinct, survival, and the dangerous pull between us.
The plaza was secured, but the threat had only grown. We paused, backs pressed to shattered walls, surveying the smoke-filled battlefield. Every decision from here on could mean life or death. And in the midst of it all, our forbidden bond had been cemented. No words, no touch, only the silent acknowledgement of what could never be spoken. A distant rumble signaled reinforcements approaching. Colonel Matthias's hand brushed mine once more, a fleeting, dangerous reminder that our hearts were as entangled as the war around us. I drew a deep breath, readying myself, knowing the next moments would define everything: survival, duty, and the forbidden love that could destroy us both. Smoke cleared slowly over the plaza, leaving twisted beams and shattered stone in a silent testament to the chaos that had just passed. The distant rumble of artillery was replaced by the soft murmur of survivors moving cautiously through the ruins. Colonel Matthias and I stood together, backs pressed to a crumbling wall, our breaths ragged but controlled. The forbidden tension between us had not faded. It had intensified, like a spark threatening to ignite everything. I studied his face, sharp jaw, deep-set eyes, the faint scar along his temple catching the morning light. His eyes met mine, calm but dangerous, and for a moment, words were unnecessary.
Check the perimeter. Confirm all units are accounted for. We cannot afford surprises now.
I moved carefully, scanning the area, my hands steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through me. Every glance at Matthias was a battle against desire and discipline. I wanted to speak, to tell him what I felt, but the war had a voice louder than my heart. Orders first. Survival first. Everything else, forbidden.
A new report crackled over the radio. Enemy reinforcements were advancing faster than expected. We had to move, evacuate the civilians, and secure the cipher. Colonel Matthias signaled the squad, silent and precise, every motion a calculated command. I felt my hand brush his briefly as we repositioned, a fleeting touch that spoke volumes. The world around us could end in a second, yet that touch anchored me, tethered me to a fragile moment of intimacy amidst the war.
Secure the east exit. Cover all civilians. We move in synchronized steps. Stay alert. Trust no shadows.
We moved through the alleys, guiding the frightened villagers, my rifle ready, eyes constantly scanning. Colonel Matthias stayed close, his presence a shield and a reminder of the forbidden line we teetered upon. Each step was a negotiation, between safety and danger, between discipline and longing. The weight of responsibility pressed down on us both, heavier than any weapon, sharper than any bullet.
Suddenly, gunfire erupted from the northern street. A squad of enemy soldiers had taken position, intent on cutting us off. We dove behind debris, firing back with precision. The clash was chaotic, bullets slicing through air, smoke curling around ruined walls. And, through it all, Matthias and I moved in synchrony, instinct and trust guiding us, our forbidden bond sharpened by danger.
Suppress fire. Move civilians to the exit. No one engages without my command. Cover each other.
We reached a small courtyard, temporarily safe, the echoes of gunfire fading. My hands shook, not from fear alone, but from the closeness I could no longer ignore. He turned to me, eyes intense, a silent question in the chaos of war. I stepped closer, reckless and aware, and he did not step back. A breath. A heartbeat. Then, a fleeting brush of lips, forbidden yet inevitable. The world fell away. Orders, protocol, danger, all suspended in that moment.
The civilians were escorted safely out. Enemy resistance collapsed, retreating under our coordinated assault. The plaza was quiet again, the air heavy with smoke and the scent of spent gunpowder. Colonel Matthias and I stood amidst the ruins, exhausted, our hearts still pounding, our secret shared and solidified. We had survived, but the war, and the rules that governed us, remained. Yet, in that fleeting peace, we allowed ourselves one small act of defiance, one stolen moment of closeness that the world could never sanction. The battlefield had tested us, challenged every law and instinct, but it had also revealed the truth we could no longer deny.
Mission accomplished. We regroup. Report in. And remember, some bonds are stronger than protocol, stronger than war.
I exhaled slowly, letting the tension drain, my hand finding his once more. No words were needed. No promises could be made. We survived the battle. We survived each other. And in the ruins of war, we found a fragile, forbidden peace.